Hey everyone, I'm Stephanie, and I believe that all readers should read children's literature, especially adults. So that's what we do on the KidLit Love podcast. We celebrate all things children's literature, picture books, early readers, middle grade, and young adult novels too. Whether you're an adult reading to your inner child or connecting the young readers in your lives with fantastic books, you've come to the right place. Each week, we'll talk to a different children's literature author and discuss their books, their hopes and dreams for readers, their writing process, and much, much more. So, grab a notebook to build your TBR, and let's get to today's episode of KidLit Love. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the KidLit Love podcast. I'm Stephanie Affinito, your KidLit loving host, inviting you back to another bookish conversation with a children's literature author. Today, I'm talking with Kate Foster. Kate is a children's author who writes about friends, family, and dogs. She's passionate about encouraging and teaching a wider understanding of autism and mental illness through a positive approach and representation. She's written multiple books for children, including All the Small Wonderful Things, Harriet Hound, and her newest release that she's here to talk about today, The Unlikely Heroes Club. It's about 5 dog-loving kids who have a mission to accomplish and a mystery to solve, and it's going to hold space in my heart forever. I know it will yours too, readers. So there's so much to talk about today, so let's get to it. Kate, welcome to KidLit Love. I'm so glad you're here today.
Oh, thank you so much. It's just so exciting to be here, Stephanie. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, of course. The pleasure is all mine. And I have to admit, I knew that we would be fast, instant friends when I read your bio on your website, which said, I love dogs, I love cake, I love books. I don't think there are any more sentences that we need, Kate.
No, only ones I think that just combine them, like I like to eat cake while stroking my dogs and reading books. I think that's
I
that's the
agree.
only other option.
It is the best. It is the best. So I would love for us to start with a bit more about you beyond the dogs and the cake and the books. Could you tell us about you, your work, of course, your books, and your journey through children's literature to be here today?
Yeah, of course. So I'm English and I actually live in Australia. So, and it's wonderful to be talking to the US. So it's kind of bringing all of the
Yeah.
those territories together. So I have been writing since I was very, very little. I always wanted to be an author from as far back as I can possibly remember. But people like me, where I grew up, people didn't become authors. It just wasn't the thing, especially back then. So I kind of was always writing in my own world and trying to make sense of life, and I guess what a lot of us do. But I never sort of pursued the path of publication until I had my own children, really. And it was then I started to think, oh, maybe people do want to read my work. Perhaps somebody out there would be interested in the types of stories that I tell. So yeah, so I started to polish up my stories and obviously always writing new ones. And then, yeah, sent some out on submission. And oh, goodness, we're talking hundreds of rejections later, lots and lots of false starts and close calls until finally a wonderful publisher at Walker Books Australia called and said, "Yep, we would like to publish Paws, which is All the Small Wonderful Things." And that was it, really. And then it's kind of just snowballed from there. It's been a very, very fast growing career. So, but I love it. I can't think of a better job, if I'm honest with you. Just writing, meeting kids, presenting, talking about the things I love. So I feel every day I feel incredibly blessed and lucky. Yeah. So it's good. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I've been known to say in the podcast that I think the only job better than mine, which is to get to talk to all of these wonderful authors, is yours, which is writing all of these beautiful stories. And it struck me as you were talking, you said you had it kind of snowballed into this wonderful career, but it definitely that snowball was being rolled and until it got big enough to go.
Yeah.
I'm always so just impressed with how much time, how much effort, how much perseverance goes into these books that we can now hold into our hands. And every time I hear the author talk about their backstory, I feel like it just is so much, gives me so much more appreciation for the book
Yeah.
that I have in my hands.
Oh, absolutely. Whenever I listen to podcasts or I talk to authors, there are so few who are your overnight successes. The
Right.
majority of us have spent years and years owning our crafts and, getting involved and networking and trying again and waiting and hoping for that one yes that kind of opens doors. But even then, the stories from authors, they vary so much. You can have one author who had their yes, but then their career paused for several years until they got their second yes. So it's yes, it's such a varied path, and it's fascinating to hear everybody's different experiences. Yeah, I enjoy it.
Yeah. So in your path, that first yes, and then the yeses that came after, you you have I don't know what the word is. Is it a style? Is it a niche? Is it a theme? Like friends,
Yeah.
family, dogs, representation just kind of wraps readers up in a big hug, no matter which one of your books that they read. And how did that come to be? Is that just the natural way that you think and live that went into your books? Or was it more of a path, I guess, that came over time as you were writing book after book after book?
Yeah, I think it's probably the latter. I think I've always, regardless of the type of story I've written, I've always had characters who know they're a bit different, who are a bit different in some way or another. And I guess maybe every author writes a character that is different to those secondary characters around them. But for me, I guess it was a deeper connection with who I am and my experiences. And I think, like I mentioned, I used to write to make sense of the world, being autistic myself, having really quite terrible anxiety and also OCD. I always knew and felt different to other people, despite, the diagnosis coming later on in life. But interestingly, I actually initially started out writing children's horror. Yeah,
Really?
I know. Very, very long way from what is published. And I do adore horror. It was probably my most favorite thing to read as a child, and growing up. So I would like to return to that maybe one day. But yeah, I don't know what it was about All the Small Wonderful Things. It's a story that's very much based on real life, myself and my son and one of my dogs. And I just guess I think I was on submission with another project, and I thought, oh, well, I'll throw myself into this new one. Let's just try something completely different that I've never done before. And that's kind of how this book um, came about. I mean, it was, I think, a long time in the making, I guess, because I was living the story in so many ways and building it in my head. So when I actually sat down to write it, it didn't take very long. It took 3 weeks, I think, to actually draft, which is, yeah, mega fast. But it was ready, I guess, maybe subconsciously and consciously, it was ready to just come out of me. And that was it. It opened the door to lots of other contemporary novels with friends and family and dogs, and yeah, positive, balanced, authentic autism representation.
I never would have guessed the first genre that you started in. I love that. I love knowing those little things about the authors. And I feel like while I am sure that could have been a wonderful genre, this is my jam right here. So I'm so glad you're writing in this space. So, The Unlikely Heroes Club, the book that we're talking about today, just came out on April 1st. I would love for you to give readers a bit of an overview of this. I think of this book, it's five kids, five families, one club, a mystery.
Yeah.
I would love for you to give us the scoop on this book and the inspiration behind it.
Oh, I love that you introduced it that way because initially, when I was kind of writing it and pitching it, I think I had a very similar kind of like pitch that was five kids, five classes, one runaway dog, and that was kind of how I pitched it. So I I really like that. But actually, it's based on based on true events. So it's about five autistic kids who have been forced by their dreadful parents and carers to attend these awfully boring socialization and emotional regulation classes in the holidays of all things. And so none of the kids really want to go. So the story is told from the perspective of Ollie. He doesn't want to go. He's incredibly anxious. It's going to be awful. He wants to be at home playing on his designer house game, which he loves to do. But he's promised his mum, and he doesn't like to let anyone down. So along he goes to these classes. On the way, this terrible thing happens before they even park the car. A dog dashes out into the road, brakes squealing, cars stopping, and Ollie watches the dog dash across the road and disappear. And it's unsettling, and it's really put him off his stride, and his confidence has gone, what little confidence he had. So anyway, he goes into these classes. They're as boring as he expected. There's four other kids there who he just presumes are going to be brilliant at this and wonderful at that and sociable and happy and great and fun, and yeah, the opposite of him. But obviously, as the days go by, the kids' personalities and characters start to come out. They maybe see the dog again. And as those days pass, the kids start to talk about the dog, and they start to trust each other and learn each other's strengths. And I don't know, maybe they come together to do some kind of daring rescue. I'm not sure.
I
But
love
yeah.
you don't give spoilers in your descriptions either.
But it is very much based on true events. My youngest son is autistic, and when he was, I think, 8 or 9, we took him to some recommended emotional regulation classes at a university near here, and I was a bit apprehensive. I didn't want him to go through any kind of behavioural I guess, coaching. I didn't want him to change and be forced to assimilate into the world. It just, yeah, it wasn't what I wanted. So I was a bit apprehensive. However, I went along and met these glorious children and their glorious families, and these wonderful student psychologists, actually, who encourage the kids to be themselves, and we're equipping them with these confidence tools, conversation tools, just things that would make their life a bit easier, allow them to understand how they were feeling, make friends. And the parents were also invited. They had their own sessions going on in a separate room. And it really was one of those sort of moments in life and experiences where I thought there's a lot of good in the world, and there's a lot of people really, trying to make this change that's going to benefit neurodivergent kids everywhere. So yeah, so that's why I wanted to sort of bring, I guess, those elements to life in this book, and throw in a bit of a Scooby-Doo kind of mystery at the same
I,
time.
I was just going to ask, was there a dog darting out in front of your car, or
I,
was that the fictional piece that's really
that's the Yeah, that's the fictional piece. I did see a dog from the windows in the building that we were in across the street, which I initially thought was on its own, but it was with very well trained and with its owner. So yes, it was that element was real, but yes, from there I let my imagination kind of go off and do its thing.
Yeah. There's something about this book, for me as a reader, and I imagine as a lot of other readers, that just feels really safe. Like we all want to have a safe place, right? We all want to feel safe and cared for and accepted. And I feel like this book, if I could name an emotion for what I felt as I was reading it, was exactly that. Just safe. There is so much love and safety and understanding and compassion in this book, whether it's from the kids themselves who are trying to figure out each other and if they are going to change their minds and like where they have to be this week, whether it's the families or the actual psychologists themselves, the secretary on the way in. There's just this safety and love wrapped in there that I imagine readers with autism are going to feel, and they're going to feel seen and represented and heard, but readers without it, all readers who just all humans who just want to feel that inside, they're going to feel it in this book, which is why I mentioned in my opening, this book is going to hold space in my heart because of the way it made me feel. I hugged this book so many times, Kate. I don't know how. I stopped counting. I can't, I'm hoping I'm accurately conveying that emotion, like in the palm of my hands is safety. And
Honestly, you're making me feel quite emotional. Um, and I'm so delighted that that has come through because it's the one thing in all of my books. It's the one thing in everything I try to do as an author and as a person. When I visit schools, when I talk to not just the kids, but when I talk to educators and parents about how to just make places far more friendly and accepting for autism and all neurodivergent people, really. It's all the word that it comes down to every single time is safety. You know, it's the one thing autistic kids and people need and want more than anything is to feel safe. Because once they feel safe, they trust, their confidence grows, they'll step a little bit outside their comfort zones, maybe they'll join in, and it's all about safety. So to know that that has come through in every aspect of the book is just, yeah, it's quite emotional actually. I'm really pleased. Thank you.
I'm very happy that I could make you emotional because
Yeah.
I wanted to convey that. In addition to that feeling of safety, I feel like there's a very practical aspect of the book where as a reader, you learn techniques, you learn strategies right alongside these children that even this adult benefited from of remembering those simple coping strategies to make yourself feel better, to just lower your stress and deal with the feelings that you have. And now that I know, the realness of what the book was based on, I imagine are those skills that you've learned, that your child has learned. They were very appreciated,
Oh.
reader.
But again, that's wonderful. When I was writing the book and obviously knew that it was going to be published, I did actually reach out to the university and I said, I've written this book. It's very much based on the classes that my son and I absolutely had the most fantastic, wonderful, life-changing time. And they were so grateful. But obviously we had to have a discussion about copyright and of their own procedures and things. So really the advice was, look, use whatever is out there in the public domain. So if there are tasks and things that you did in our classes that are also that anybody can find online, then we haven't got any ownership over those. So interestingly, when I started to look at resources online for dealing with emotions and understanding emotions and having conversations. There is so much out there freely available for everybody to download, to classes to join. So everything in this book, every technique and idea for understanding how you feel and kind of reining it in when necessary, it's all there. It's all available online to find. So I'm glad it helped. Yeah, it's really strange. My son is 16 this year, so long time since we attended the classes. We still do the things. We still do the things and the exercises in the book to calm us down.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah, it works.
Yeah, there's one line in the book that really went right to me and reminded me the power of just calming down in your breath. May I read the line that is on a
Please,
sticky
yeah,
note and is in my journal? Um, it was this one. I think the breathing helped my sadness shrink a bit.
yeah,
Just that reminder. Oh my gosh, that one went right to me because I have time and time again just connecting to your breath in that very simple yet powerful technique that we often forget about in the moment when we are stressed or overwhelmed can be that one little thing that helps. And there were so many pieces of that through the book of kids learning, but then kids trying and kids owning those
yeah.
strategies towards the end, which is the most beautiful trajectory.
Oh, that's yeah, wonderful. I love it. And that was the idea. It was to show that all of these things are pretty simple. And even though you know they do need work, we do need to rehearse sometimes these simple things. But despite the fact they're simple, they have the most profound effect. You know, they can just particularly autistic people who often have troubles recognizing and naming the emotions that they're feeling. It's not that they're not feeling emotions, they're just not able to always recognize what they are. And then with that feeling, they also then aren't really sure what to do with it. Like it's just this big whirlwind of something going on inside, and it can go from naught to 100, just kind of just like that. So these techniques are yeah, so important for autistic kids, adults, families, educators to learn, um, and to just say, okay, quiet corner, deep breaths, or squeeze the lemon.
Yeah.
Those kind of things that just, yeah, just ground us, I guess, and put us back in touch with our bodies and reality.
I'm glad you mentioned adults, families, educators. I feel like this should be required reading for every parent, for every educator, for everyone who interacts with children, quite frankly, because the book is written from a child's perspective, right? And we see things of the things that adults might say or do, or their facial expressions that we're not aware of, we're not thinking of. And then through the book, through the multiple characters, we can see the impact of some of those things. And I just feel like it's such a powerful way to literally get in someone else's shoes and to consider what might be going on in another child's head. I felt like, yes, it's for the kids, but oh my goodness, this book is for the adults just as much.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's again. Thank you. You're just saying all the things that are making me feel just so much joy that the book has done the job I wanted it to do. But also, like, I guess I wrote it for entertainment value as well for the kids. But yeah, the idea of it is to show everybody that the things that we can often take for granted. Um, or we think are just obvious, and surely everybody gets that. It's just no, it isn't the case at all. And as an autistic person, but also as a mum of an autistic boy, I'm constantly advocating for him. In fact, I was today. And so often I have to say to people, break down your instructions. Don't, if you're going to say something, you know, be clear, be concise, also be calm, and give the person time to process, to think through the different options. Um, I mean, the list goes on and on, but yeah, it feels so obvious to me now, but it's not to everybody because I guess you're kind of going through life, and majority of people are neurotypical, so you don't have to think. They're born with these templates of understanding things, and um, but yeah, that's why I do what I do. I don't want to be this grumpy person going, do this, do that. I want it to be an inclusive learning, kind of like,
Yeah.
through my books and presentations, and yeah.
And as you mentioned, a fun story too.
Yeah.
We can't we can't talk about all of the things I want to talk about on the air because I don't want to ruin the surprise, I guess, of what these kids end up cooking up together as they get confident and they get connected. It's this wonderful thing that they end up doing, this brave, wonderful thing that puts them out of their comfort zone. Um, to an ending with what I would say is a little bit of a cliffhanger. I have a question to
Yeah.
ask you when we are off the call. I'm going to be asking you that question for sure. But it's this wonderful story that also just kind of wraps you in that safety and teaches you a couple of things along
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I wanted the kids to teach the adults. That was my big thing through this was though the adults are there doing, teaching in these classes, I wanted it to be the children that ultimately taught the adults.
Mhm.
This is actually how it's done.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad that that's come through as well. And oh, it's funny because last year I actually pitched this book for a competition over here where you can pitch it to TV producers and movie producers, and I was shortlisted, so I went along. Unfortunately, no one as of yet has picked it
Yes.
up. Well, I hope, fingers crossed, always fingers crossed. But I just think that it would make the most wonderful, wholesome, but fun mystery TV series with just these really unlikely kids just getting together and just solving mysteries and finding courage and working together. So you never know.
You
One
never
day,
know. I'm adding my fingers crossed to that and sending
maybe.
that energy out into the world. My goodness, that would be wonderful. Okay,
Yeah.
listeners, cross your fingers and gather all of our good energy up for that. As you think about this book, been in the world a little over 2 weeks or so by now of the time of the airing of the episode. What is your hope for the book and your hope for readers as it finds its way into their hands?
I always have, I don't know if it's years and years of rejection, and sort of having those initial big dreams kind of squashed, bit by bit over the years, maybe. But I never have too big expectations. Like, obviously, I'd love it to be a movie or a TV show, haha. But what I've always wanted when I first started to write these books was to have a child pick a book up, one of my books up, and it changed them, and it give them a whole new perspective, maybe not immediately, but perhaps that they remember it and they take it forward into their future, where something happens and they think, oh, hang on, I read about this, I've read that book, and this is what we do, and this is how we help. And so all of my books, that's always my hope, is that it gives autistic kids confidence, to be themselves, to be seen, to know that they aren't alone, to show every kid really how to be kind and how to include, and how simple that is. And also every adult who has anything to do with children, that these accommodations and these changes, and they're so simple. They are so simple. And sometimes there aren't any changes that can be made, and there can't be any accommodations made to make things better. Just sitting and listening is sometimes all that's needed, just to be that, like you say, that safe person, that safe go-to. So that's really what I hope the books continue to do. And yeah, obviously the big dream of movie, TV show, keep that alive as much as possible. So yeah, I hope it also sells millions and millions of copies.
Well, reader by reader, I think you're going to get all of those things.
Oh gosh,
It's such a touching book. Yeah.
thank you. Thank you so much.
So tell us, even though I love this book so much and I could talk about it for a really long time, what else do you have under your sleeve? Anything you can share that you're working on?
Well, I'm always working on about 2 or 3 projects at the same time. That's just me. That's just how I tend to work best. Yes, I have more books coming, more books under contract. I'm not really allowed to talk about them at this stage. I also, obviously, being in Australia, I don't know at this stage if they will make it to the US. I hope so. So much depends on the success of the 3 books I do have available in the US at the moment. But I am writing more books with autistic characters. I am writing autistic characters solving more mysteries, traveling the world. I am writing more books with dogs as well. And I am even venturing into the world of verse novels, which has always been a big dream and hope of mine. And it's been a project of, I guess, just a personal love. Um, but it's kind of grown, and yeah, that's one that I hope people will keep an eye out for. Maybe,
Oh.
maybe, I don't know. Could it be published? I'm not sure. I can't tell you. It's a secret.
Well, where can we find you online for when those secrets are revealed and we want to keep up with what you're doing? Where's the best place to find you?
Well, I am often on X, not as much as I used to be. Find that site's not really working for me anymore, but Instagram, and I use the handle at K Foster Author on both of those sites. I also have a website, kfosterbooks.com, and that's where, oh, well, I should update it more than I do. But that's where the next books that are coming out will always be, so people can find out when things are coming and what's coming. And there's also information on there about the how to contact me to do presentations and talks, and school visits. Hopefully one day I can actually travel to the US and visit schools in person. But I do virtual visits all the time, and I love them. They're just as much fun as in person. So yeah, that's the best place to go to find
Great.
me.
Well, I will collect all of those links, website, X, Instagram. I will put them into the show notes to make it easy for listeners to find you. And of course, I'll put links to the books that we talked about today to make it easy for them to get those as well. Listeners, you have to go read The Unlikely Heroes Club. You just have to. You're going to love it. Thank you, Kate, so much for chatting with me today. I just loved our conversation and the book, and I can't wait for whatever's next.
Thank you. Thank you so much for everything you do. Your passion and support and championing children's literature. It means for children's authors, it means the world. Thank you.
Thank you. And listeners, thank you for listening to another episode of KidLit Love, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the KidLit Love podcast. You'll find links to all the books, resources, and ideas mentioned in the show notes at alitlife.com. And if you want more, you might like to listen to my other podcast called Get Literate. It's a podcast that explores all things books and reading, notebooks and writing, and everything in between to build a life you love. One more thing. If you love what you listened to today, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast, or take a screenshot of the episode and text it to a bookish friend. This helps the podcast grow and builds our bookish community of KidLit Love. Thanks for listening.